Hi friends, welcome back to my channel where today I'm going to be doing this eyeshadow look using these two eyeshadow palettes. It's funny because during the tutorial I'm actually wearing a different shirt, but by the time the eye look was finished I decided that I really wanted to pair it with a green shirt. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'm also going to be talking about home birth and midwife services and my experiences with that, also contrasted with my experience with a hospital birth. If you want to see or hear any of that, then just stick around. And if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Rachel. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom. I love to play with colorful eyeshadow. I upload about 3 videos a week, all eyeshadow related content, so I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing if you want to see more. Now without further ado, let's get going. Alright, I have a plan for this look and I really am not confident in how it's going to turn out, but the last few times I have not been confident, I've ended up loving the look, so I'm just hoping that this ends up, with the same result. I have this shirt on that has sort of orangey red poppies, some blue, and then some green. Now, the other times that I've worn this shirt, I focused on eyeshadow in like the blue family, and then another time in the red family, I think. This time I want to see if I can grab some of the green out because it's really subtle. It's just the stems of these little flowers. But I want to highlight a bit on the green, but also some of the red. So here's my plan. I don't want to look like a Christmas tree. That's number one. I've got these two palettes. Here's Sprinkle with a Little Magic from ColourPop and Cherry on Top from BH Cosmetics. And my plan is to take probably these two shades and do the lid, like the outer corner area, and then grab a shimmer from Cherry on Top. So I've got a little bit of the green and a little bit of the red, hopefully without looking too Christmassy. So we'll see. If it's bad, I can always wash it off and you guys will never see the video. But if it's good, then that's exciting. So let's get going. I'm going to prime my eyes using the Glamlight Icing Primer. I want this video to be shorter than my last couple because my last few were, I think, each over 20 minutes, closer to 25 or 30. They were just long. And I want this one to be much more quick. So I thought I would chat a little bit about my experience with home birth now that I've announced my pregnancy. And I mentioned in the pregnancy announcement video that my first child was born at home and the second one was supposed to be. So I thought that people might be curious and would like to know maybe more of those details. Okay, starting in the Sprinkle a Little Magic palette, I'm taking a pretty dense blending brush from e.l.f. and I'm going to grab the shade Awake. And I'm going to put the shade Awake starting in my outer corner, and I'm keeping it on the lid. I don't want to bring it up into the crease really. I'm just going to put it in the outer corner and bring it over about halfway on the lid space. So let's talk a bit about home birth. First I'll tell you my oldest daughter's story. The pregnancy was really rough. I don't know that I had hyperemesis gravidum. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know that I had that. It certainly wasn't diagnosed as that, but I was so sick. I wasn't so sick that I needed to be hospitalized for dehydration. So even if I had that, it wasn't as extreme as it could have been. But I basically just lived on the bathroom floor and threw up for 9 months. But aside from the nausea, the pregnancy was fine. All of my levels were good. All of the baby's levels were good and the right size and anatomy scans, everything was looking fine. So we had decided to do a home birth because my mother-in-law, she had 9 kids and she had all of them at home. She sort of started the trend within the family. So all of my sisters-in-law, I have 6 sisters-in-law on that side of the family, they have all had their children at home. I'd not even ever considered it until I met his family and I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Like, hospitals are for when something's gone wrong, right? So, I mean, for millennia, women have been having babies at home with the support of other women in the family. If there's nothing wrong, then sure, why not? Let's try. Have a kid at home. So we did. We hired a midwife and I went into labor. Long story short, I labored for about 19 hours and my baby was born in my in-laws' living room because they had much more space. So we ended up doing a tub birth, like a water birth, set up this tub in their living room and she was born there. And then the living room where we set up, it was kind of a suite because you could close the doors off from the rest of the house and it had a fireplace and a pull-out bed and everything. So we could comfortably rest there for a week and join the family for meals and everything, but it was just like its own little mini apartment. Okay, now I'm going to take a pinched and looser blending brush. I want to grab the shade Sleep, which is the light green matte in the Tinkerbell palette. And I'm going to put this right on the edge. I'm just going to kiss the edge of this darker green. I don't like it when the color goes all the way up to my eyebrows, so I'm trying to control that a little bit more. Just put this right on the edge and it's going to blend out into nothing. So where was I? Oh yeah, so my oldest daughter was born at home And it was a really good experience. What I liked about it, I think the most, was that I was able to eat the entire time, because for the entire pregnancy, I wasn't able to eat very much. But then when I was in labor, my body's like, food, 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 food. So we made chocolate chip cookies, and I think I ate 4 meals during that 19-hour span. And it was really nice that I was able to eat and consistently fuel my body. And I could drink whenever I wanted to, and I could walk around. We went for walks in the yard and sat on the swings for a little while and did deep squats to help move things along. It was good. It was a really, really good experience. The tub birth was amazing, because the weirdest thing was that as soon as you got your body into the tub, so much of the pain was relieved. Like the moment, and I had some back labor with that child, so it was like my whole body, you know, everything hurts. But as soon as I dipped into the tub, so much of that pressure and strain and aching just went away, because I was sort of suspended, you know? It was wonderful. The tub birth was such a great experience. I'm gonna carry Sleep down onto the lower lash line in this outer corner. I think I'll just keep it in the outer corner for now, though. I'm not sure how far I want to pull it. So anyway, that was my oldest daughter. And again, we stayed at my in-laws' house for the week and rested and recuperated. My midwife made house calls, of course. You know, she's a midwife, is what they do. She made house calls and she checked everything. She followed up with me. She followed up with the baby. I didn't have any complications and everything was great. We went home and there you go. With a smudger brush, I'm grabbing the shade Sleep again, and I'm just tapping this into the lower lash line, just to deepen the outer corner a smidge. So that was my first child, and the home birth was a wonderful experience. I really had no complaints. It was really good overall. Then my now almost toddler, she's, I don't know, when did they become a toddler? I mean, she's toddling. She's running around like a little champion. She's almost a year and a half. So she was supposed to be a home birth, and the whole pregnancy went better. It was so much better. I wasn't sick nearly as much. I think I felt good like 60% of the time, which was amazing. Like I can do things, I can eat, I can rest. I'm not throwing up all the time. I can go places and not, like, I almost passed out on the grocery store floor with my first child. That didn't happen with my second. It did almost happen with this one, but anyway, it was just, the whole pregnancy was so much better. All right, so now I've got the cherry on top palette, and I feel like the only shimmer that would actually work for today's look is the shade called Juicy. It's a reddish shimmer with some orange in it. And I think that'll work fine with these flowers. I don't know if you can see because they're red with orange. I'm so nervous about this. I'm like, red and green. I don't know. But I'm going to try it. I'm going to a flat shader brush. I'm gonna dip into Juicy, and I'm not gonna spray it yet. I want to place it on dry, because when you spray it, it makes it a bit more metallic, and I'm kind of scared about this color and how it's gonna look with the green, so I want to make sure that I like it before I enhance it with making it more metallic. So I'm gonna take Juicy and place it on the lid space leading into the green. All right, what do we think? I might need a different mirror. I think the orangey red tone is making it look less Christmassy. Like if I had chosen a really true red, you know, with more of a blue base, it might have looked more Christmassy. I don't know. Do we like this? I'll be totally honest, I'm not sure if I like it, but I'm gonna keep going and maybe I'll like it at the end when everything is finished. So more about this second baby. Everything was looking great, and we had a midwife, and she was giving me all the care that I needed, and, you know, testing blood and urine and ultrasounds and doing all the stuff that you get at a regular obstetrician's office. When it was time to, like, I had an appointment, I think a week before I started laboring, and the baby was perfect position. Everything was good. Taking a smaller pencil brush and carrying Juicy onto the lower lash line. I guess I'll start the other eye because I'm still talking. Things progressed much more quickly with this delivery, which is pretty common. You know, the first one's often the longest, and then they get a little bit easier from there as your body's like, oh, I remember what to do. So things progressed more quickly. The midwife arrived early morning, and we started getting ready. You know, she gave me an IV, and she had tested for GBS and everything, so we did what we needed to do for that. And everything was going great, and after a while, I just wasn't progressing. Like, I was fully dilated, and I was pushing, and I was not progressing. So we tried all different positions. You know, we tried in a bed, on the floor, in the water, all sorts of different positions, and there just wasn't any movement. Like the baby would come down to a certain point and then stop and then rise back up again. And it was getting quite tiring. Now, because my water broke at nighttime and I started laboring a little bit earlier than I expected, I didn't get as much sleep as I really needed. And at some point, we started to be concerned that I was going to run out of energy. I was pushing, not laboring, but pushing full labor for 4 hours. And we needed to have the conversation, like, okay, what's going on? Maybe something's wrong. And at this point, my body had been working so hard that my cervix was actually getting swollen from the baby's like pushing and then coming back up. It's like, you know, like that battery on the cervix. It was starting to make my cervix swell. So now I went from 10 centimeters down to 8 centimeters. So I was actually losing the opportunity to push the baby through because the opening was closing. And midwife was talking about that. And then she's like, I'm also kind of concerned that there might be something wrong because it's just not progressing. And you've done this before. This is not a first delivery, so you know what to expect. Your body knows what to expect, so there might be a problem. And also there's a very real possibility that I would just become too exhausted to continue. So we decided to transfer. So we went to the hospital, and that was a really, really rough car ride because I was in so much pain. It's hard to compare pain, especially so many years apart, you know, because you remember that there was pain. You might remember that it was super intense, but your body doesn't remember the actual level of pain. Do you know what I mean? So I couldn't say this is more painful than my first delivery, but I think it was. I don't remember being in that kind of pain for my first child. And her delivery was like 19 hours. At this point, I had been laboring for like 8. So her delivery was twice as long. And like I pushed for a while with her before I really figured out like what muscles to use and everything. But I don't remember this level of pain. So we got to the hospital and they determined that the baby, who had been in perfect position, every time we checked, had actually turned herself facing upwards, and then her head got stuck in my pelvis. So she had her head sort of cocked to the side, and that's what was keeping her from moving down. So at this point, they're like, okay, you need to rest, and your body needs to relax, because I was in so much pain from the labor and then her being stuck, which was kind of exacerbating things, that my body was crazy tense. And because it was tense, it was also making problems worse because the muscles were not relaxing enough to let the baby come through, even if she wasn't stuck. So they gave me an epidural, and that was perfectly fine with me. I was like, do whatever you need to do. I was screaming. My husband was a paramedic for 14 years, and he said he'd never seen anyone in that much pain. So there's something about how the baby was stuck and my body was trying to fight through it. I don't know. It was really unpleasant. So they gave me an epidural, and finally I was able to rest. Before I fell asleep, we had sort of positioned my body in hopes that gravity would help reposition the baby. At some point they would have said, you know, we need to do a C-section to get this kid out, because my water had broken and there hadn't been movement for a while. I mean, she was fine, her heart rate was fine, everything was looking good except that she was stuck. But, you know, of course, baby needs to be taken out. She needs to come out. So they're like, just get some rest and we will reassess the situation in a little while. So I slept for about 2 hours. When I woke up, they checked everything again. They had been monitoring as I slept, and they're like, okay, actually, it looks like the baby moved. It looks like the baby's in just the right position that we need to labor. I was still having contractions, and that was surreal because with the epidural, of course, I had no medication with my first child. So with this epidural, it was so weird knowing that my body was doing the things it needed to do, but I didn't feel any of it. It was bizarre. It was a really weird experience. They checked a few things and they're like, all right, you're actually ready to go. Let's have this kid. I'm like, okay, I think I'm pushing. Really, the pushing experience was I knew what to do, and I knew what my body needed to do to push, like to tighten those muscles and push, but I didn't feel any of it. It was very strange, really strange. Within 20 minutes of me waking up, baby was out and in my arms, and everything was fine from there. All right, I'm definitely liking this look now more because I've got it on both eyes. What do you think? Does it look crazy? Do I look like a Christmas tree? Do I look like a Christmas tree? That is the question. I'm going to find a white for an inner corner highlight. I grabbed Lost in Los Angeles from BH Cosmetics. This is the only matte white in my collection. It's called the Abbey. Actually, I am giving this palette to a friend. I had it listed for sale, but one of the shades was broken, and it's so easy to find palettes these days with shades that are not broken, so no one's buying it. So I'm gonna give it to a friend who will probably get much more use out of it than I will, but she won't mind me using this. So I've got this white shade, the Abbey, and I'm gonna use that as an inner corner highlight. Just put it right on top of whatever red ended up in that space. I think that sometimes we tend to put things up on a pedestal, like this is the best way to go, and there's, you know, you're crazy if you do something else, but sometimes you have to do something else. You have to have other plans. You have to have backup plans, contingency plans. You just need to be open-minded enough to recognize this might be good for this situation, but circumstances could change, and you have to be flexible. I was very, very, very grateful that we ended up in the hospital and got the problem resolved before it became a bigger problem. All right, so I'm gonna do white in the waterline, go off camera, finish everything up, and then I'll be back to show you how this ended up looking. All right, guys, here's the final look. I decided that while I kind of liked the eye look, I didn't like it with the shirt that I was wearing, so I've actually changed my shirt, and I'm much, much preferring the eye look with the shirt. I think at the end of the day, I like the cooler tone colors on the more blue-red side of things with that shirt. And when I brought in the green tones, it just, I don't know. I didn't like the final look with the shirt I was wearing. I like the final look a lot more now that I've got something that matches a little better. So I did a winged eyeliner, and again, I put white in my waterline. On my lips, I'm wearing the shade Showering Sunset from Burt's Bees Tinted Lip Oil. And that is everything. So there you go. That's the video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for watching and for clicking my channel. I would love to know what your thoughts are on home birth. If you would leave some comments below, we can chat about that side of things. Maybe if you had some personal experiences, maybe you know people who've had experiences with it. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's an interesting topic, and I'd love to chat with you about it. I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing if you want to see all my uploaded content. I do upload several videos a week, and until I see you in my next one, I hope you have a great day. Bye!